Sean, thanks for the introduction, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody out there, and hope everyone's staying safe and healthy. So what I want to do is just take you on this journey that we're on with 5G, and we are going to again end up in discussing more about standalone, but I want to take you on that journey. So next slide, please. So this talk will be really about the roadmap to standalone 5G, where we are, and where we're going with standalone and where we're going with 5G. Next slide, please. So first off, many of you, I'm sure out there in the virtual event world and associations know who 5G Americas is, but just in case, we are the voice of 5G and LTE for the Americas region, North, Central, and South America. And we work to progress mobile communications throughout the region. So that would be, again, North, Central, and South America. And we work in the areas of education, we work in the areas of technical coordination and facilitation, and we work in the areas of regulatory policy. Next slide. So let's go through this journey to standalone, and this journey to where we are as an industry with 5G. Next slide. So today, if you look at kind of a regional map of 5G connections by global regions as of December 2020, you'll see that there's some definite trends as far as where 5G is going to be deployed. And we'll talk a little bit about where 5G, what types of infrastructure are being deployed versus non-standalone versus standalone. So first that you'll see in this regional map is the leaders of 5G currently, if you start to look at connections, and then I'm going to talk about deployments, really are the Asia Pacific area, North America, and then Western Europe. Next slide. But 5G, this path that we're on, this path to standalone, and the target architecture of 5G standalone, we should be very proud of ourselves as an industry group, because 5G is the fastest growing technology in the history of mankind when it comes to generational technology. So it's faster than 1G growth, faster than 2G, faster than 3G, and even faster than the growth that 4G had. So we are moving along at a very fast pace. And that fast pace was built actually on non-standalone. And that's the kind of the journey to standalone that we're on. Next path, next slide. So the forecast, many have seen different forecasts. Really, what I think about the forecast is they're all rocket ships. This is a rocket ship up when you start to look at 5G connections by the end of this year. And hopefully this pandemic gets under control. But the Omdia's predictions are that we have 563 million. By the end of 2025, we're looking at 3 billion. So, it doesn't matter really which research or analyst group that you use. What you're finding is it's a rocket ship of really growth for 5G connections. And we wholeheartedly as an association agree with all the various forecasts for 5G. Next slide. From a deployment side, there's 163 global 5G deployments. Almost all of these deployments that are listed are actually non-standalone deployments, because that was the very kind of first phase of the 5G, is to move to non-standalone deployments. And we're on this journey though to standalone, which really is the target architecture. And we've seen investments and trials and actually launches of standalone throughout the world now, because that is really the next step. But when you start to see these deployments figures of 163, that really is, the very first things that were deployed were non-standalone technology. Next slide, please. But standalone really is much different. It is the target architecture of what really is, what I would say is the hopes and dreams and promise of 5G. One of the, some of the differences on the slide, if you see, is non-standalone, you were really using radio access network of 5G or 5G NR, but it was connected to really a 4G core network. And that actually had, 4G core network was great, but it really actually has limitations compared to, again, the target architecture of what we want to do as an industry and what we want to address as an industry as far as use cases and technology capabilities for innovation. So with a 5G standalone network, you're actually connecting it. Basically, 5G is both in the radio access network and the core, and it is architected around cloud principles, and really kind of brings in this innovative or innovation to our industry that we haven't seen before with 1G, 2G, 3G, and 4G technologies. And that is to be a technology enabler of other innovations in technology, but also to be enabled by other technology enablers. So things like if you start thinking about the cloud principles and NFV architecture, if you start to think about really edge computing, if you start to think about cloud principles, all these types of things really are allowed when you start to think about standalone technologies, 5G standalone technology. And that's where we want to go as far as a target architecture. Next slide, please. Another way of looking at it, if you look at how non-standalone was deployed and where we're going with standalone, this is kind of a primitive kind of slide as far as what it looks like, but it kind of gives you a visual of what most of those early deployments were with 5G technology, which were non-standalone. But everyone on the roadmap, every operator that I've talked to has a standalone in their technology roadmap, because they know that if they want to address the full capabilities of 5G, they need to get to standalone. If I was to say this is the baseball season, and in fact, I know we're a worldwide audience, but in the United States, we have spring training for Major League Baseball right now. In Major League Baseball, if this was a baseball game and you talk about 5G, as far as what we're addressing right now and where we are in this development of innovation, we're probably in the second inning of a 9-inning baseball game. So think about that. Second inning of a 9-inning baseball game. So we have a lot to do, and a lot of that progress will happen from both spectrum, getting the spectrum assets, getting the cell site capabilities to streamline processes, but more importantly is to get to standalone in some of these capabilities. Next slide, please. So for some facts about from one of our member companies about non-standalone versus standalone, I would focus on the standalone side here, which is this is the target architecture. It simplifies the RAN and the device architecture. It provides really what would be considered the new ultra low latency capabilities that we're going to need to address these use cases. And I'll just give you an example. I mean, if you're looking at an autonomous car with lots of capabilities that are connected for 5G, you're driving down the road, you're going to need extremely low latency for the split millisecond decisions that car can make. Now, I know there's a lot of technology that can be integrated besides the 5G NR and 5G capabilities for C2VX, but that ultimate low latency capability is essential to many of the technologies. And when we simplify and get to the target standalone networks with 5G, we begin to be able to have that technology enablement for so many use cases that we're not going to support as well with non-standalone. Next slide, please. And some people, this is a slide I borrowed from one of the research firms, is, this is not, the only thing when it comes to 5G. But one of the things that we should think about is operational efficiency, and that's why I put this slide in. The operational efficiency when you move to standalone is much increased versus the non-standalone dealing with legacy architecture. So when we start to think about one of the reasons I think operators are moving to standalone isn't just to increase this innovation and increase the use case capability, but also for operational efficiencies within their network, because it really does simplify the architecture. Next slide, please. And people say, well, how long has this journey been? I mean, how long has standalone been worked on? Well, it was the core architecture that was being developed early on in the process. And so this is not like something new, and this is going to continue to be enhanced as we go from release 16 to 17 and 18. This journey doesn't stop here, and 3GPP has done a great job of standardizing the capabilities when it comes to 5G NR and 5G core network. Next slide, please. So in the end summary, I mean, we are, as an industry, have done a great job. As I said, we are growing at the fastest rate of any mobile wireless technology. But there's so much more to do. We're in the second inning of a 9-inning baseball game. We have so much roadmap ahead of us, but that roadmap needs to be fulfilled. That promise will be fulfilled as we move to more of the standalone architecture, because that allows us to address some of these humongous, just huge opportunities when it comes to vertical use cases and capabilities. So with that, I would just like to say thank you for allowing me to spend a little time here talking about this journey that we're on to standalone networks. And again, it's a great journey. We're a great industry, and there's going to be great innovation as we move forward.
Well, thanks very much for taking us through that presentation, Chris. And everybody, be sure to keep up with the work that 5G Americas does at 5gamericas.org. And stick around. We're going to be coming right back with a live panel session. Thank you again, Chris.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Have a great day. Stay safe. Stay healthy.